Hello everybody, I'm Stuart Deming with XPLR.NASH, and this video is Wedgewood Houston. We'll talk about a little bit of the history of this neighborhood, what's happening here now in the development and the extraordinary change that's happening here in Wedgewood Houston. Wedgewood Houston is probably about 2 miles away from downtown Nashville. Really quaint little neighborhood here in the city of Nashville, but it's becoming like this artisan-driven community. And we'll talk about that, some of the changes that are about to happen here. Historically, this was a really industrious area of Nashville. A lot of warehouses, a lot of different industries were here. There still are industries here, but it's becoming this artistic community here in the city of Nashville. Some super exciting things here. You have the Nashville Fairgrounds in Wedgewood, Houston. Historically, that's been the host location for the Tennessee State Fairs for a long time. Some new development happening here is you have the Major League Soccer Stadium being built here near the Nashville Fairgrounds. And that's going to be awesome. I believe it's, 35,000 seats? I think 35 to 50,000 seats. Soccer is a huge thing here in the city of Nashville, to the point where I believe Manchester United had a game at Nissan Stadium, and they almost sold out every single ticket. That doesn't happen for Titans games. So soccer is actually a huge fan base here. This is one of the most unique things here in Wedgewood, Houston. This is Santa's Pub. This is a karaoke bar. Santa's is known as one of the best karaoke bars in the city of Nashville. The cool thing about Santa's is it's a cash-only place, and they only serve like bottled beer, so you can't get any hard liquors there. One of my favorite restaurants here in Wedgewood, Houston is this chicken restaurant right here. We featured this in the top 5 restaurants in Nashville in 2018 video. Smokin' Thighs. They make all of their chicken with thigh meat, and they have great selections of sauces. They also have a delicious mac and cheese. I would highly recommend it. We just turned off of Wedgewood, and now we're going back into the neighborhood. So you're gonna see a lot of these older houses. These houses were probably built mid-40s, 50s, early 60s. And then you're gonna have a lot of new development happening here in Wedgewood, Houston. The housing boom in Wedgewood, Houston is absolutely insane right now. There's actually been a lot of studies done recently about how much the housing has gone up. It's said that nearly housing, so you're going to see this new development right here, or you're going to see a rebuild. But the housing has gone up nearly 400% in like 15 years. And it's crazy right now what's happening in Wedgewood, Houston. And it's literally, you can drive down the street and there may be a house that was there one day, and then the next day it's a shotgun style home. It's absolutely crazy what's happening in this neighborhood. All right, so now we're driving down. We're getting more into the artist community. One really cool thing about Wedgewood, Houston that I really love is Fort Negley. And Fort Negley was used as a Civil War fort for the Union Army during the Civil War. It was the main headquarters for the Battle of Nashville, which is one of the large battles here. But we had some storms recently come through the city of Nashville, and you have some power line damage, some trees down. But now we're getting into that artisan community, like I said. So right here to my left is going to be Corsair Distillery. Corsair is this artisan whiskey maker, and they use different types of grains. Typically when you're making whiskey, it's corn, malt, and barley. But Corsair does different types of grains when they make their whiskey. So now you're getting into some residential, a little right here, and then you have some creative workspaces, and then you have Deskin Cider, a cider maker here in the city of Nashville, alcoholic cider. That used to be, interesting fact about that one, about 5 years ago, that actually used to be a garage that fixed cars. And then they had some event spaces in there in that garage. And so you can go there and actually like be in this garage, and it's a concert venue of cars hanging on the lifts and everything. Super interesting. But this is all going to be redeveloped in the next couple years. And Wedgewood, Houston is just going through this big boom. So let's go see Fort Negley and the Civil War fort. My other favorite restaurant in Wedgewood, Houston is going to be right here on this corner. We featured them in our top burger video. This is Gabby's. It's packed. Hands down, one of the best burgers in Nashville. All fresh ground beef. Amazing burgers. They have one with the peanut butter and bacon on it. It's so good. right, so there's been some controversy about Fort Negley. So we'll come over here and we'll see Fort Negley. And this used to be where Greer Stadium was. This was the old baseball stadium for the Nashville Sounds. It's knocked down now, and there was some controversy back a couple years ago. This was all going to be developed into creative workspace, a hotel, office, Class A office space. But they had to do a historical dig because we're now going onto a site of a Civil War battlefield. And so they had to do a historical dig, and they ended up finding 6 bodies with unmarked tombs. Those projects, that hotel, that Class A office space immediately got stopped. And now it's turning into part of Fort Negley, and it's going to be this Civil War remembrance fort. So this is Fort Negley. Really cool place, incredible views of downtown Nashville. There's a few things I like about Fort Negley. Probably my favorite thing about Fort Negley is the amazing view of the Nashville skyline. It's from an angle that there's still room to see the actual Nashville skyline because Nashville is so ever-changing. But it's a nice little walk. It has a lot of deep history. It talks about the Union Army and how they occupied this area as a fort for the Civil War. But hands down, my favorite part of Fort Negley is the Nashville skyline. And then I love history. So coming over here to Fort Negley, it's free to learn about the park. It's free parking. There's also an amazing visitor center that offers classes, and they offer different training activities about like what the life of a Civil War soldier would have been, or them finding bullets and like interacting. It's just a great visitor center, and the city of Nashville does a really good job at preserving the Civil War history that happened here at Fort Negley. So right over here to my left, this used to be Greer Stadium. This was the old baseball stadium for the Nashville Sounds. Nashville Sounds is our AAA team here in Nashville. And so this used to be an old baseball stadium, and now it's completely knocked down, and it's going to be turned into part of a Civil War park with Fort Negley. One of the biggest developments that's happening here in Wedgewood, Houston, is Apple Music is opening a headquarters location here and a concert venue. I don't know how many concert venues that they have, but they're opening over here. This used to be May Hosiery. This is the factory that made socks in the early 1900s, and they landed the U.S. prison system, and they made socks for the U.S. prison system. They also made bombs in World War II, which is incredible history. So the owner went over to Germany and brought some Jews back to America to work, and they made bombs here to bomb Nazi Germany. Which is crazy. And then also the socks that the first astronauts in space wore were from that factory. Really cool place. We're going to pass that again and give you guys a little bit more history. But Apple Music is moving over here to Wedgewood, Houston, in that building. This apartment complex right here to my left is a really cool concept. It's going to be like this shareable apartment complex. It's one of the first concepts in North America. It also is going to have a robotic parking garage where you just pull in and a robot parks your car, so you don't have to take care of that. But it's a really cool concept. So you can get like a square foot apartment at 50 square feet and then everything else is shared, or you can get an 800 square foot apartment. All of this, you see, all of this is about to be all developed. This is the warehouse district I was talking about here in Wedgewood, Houston. This is all going to be developed into creative spaces, Class A office space, residential. And so there's so much development happening here in Wedgewood, Houston. And it's happening all over Nashville. But Wedgewood, Houston, I would say, is really feeling the burst, the big growth. There's some really cool murals in Wedgewood, Houston. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but this is probably my favorite mural in town. What was that from? It was from that Christmas... we just passed it. It was from one of those old 1960s Christmas cartoons. So your average Nashvilleian will come to Wedgewood, Houston, either if you're in the artist community or if you're looking for some incredible restaurants. There's some amazing food in Wedgewood, Houston, and we're going to pass the building where Apple Music is going, and that's where some of that incredible food is, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But the city of Nashville hosts an art crawl the first Saturday of every month. And so you have the downtown arts district on 5th Avenue and Church Street, and then you have the other arts district here in Wedgewood, Houston. So a lot of people in Nashville that live here come to Wedgewood, Houston for that first Saturday art crawl. A tourist would come and visit Fort Negley. If you're interested in Civil War history, you'll come visit Fort Negley. Once Apple Music is here, you're gonna want to be there because it's gonna be an amazing concert venue. Also, right now you'll be visiting Wedgewood Houston for some of that craft distilling that's happening here. So Corsair Distillery. I think if you're a developer right now and you're interested in Wedgewood Houston, real estate still here hasn't hit the prices of downtown yet. It will soon. So it was actually just announced last week that this huge developer, I believe out of Chicago, is buying this huge warehouse in Wedgewood Houston, keeping the main structure and foundation of the warehouse and then turning it into this huge like concert venue too. So there's gonna be like 3 or 4 very big competing concert venues here. So you're gonna have this house built in the 1950s, 1960s, little small, nice residential house, and then you have this big houses that are going for $500,000, $600,000. The thing that I find surprising about Wedgewood Houston is there's not really a coffee scene here yet. The coffee scene hasn't really blown up here in Wedgewood Houston yet, which is extremely surprising because in every other neighborhood in Nashville, the coffee scene is amazing. It's incredible. If you're taking a small little day trip, there's still not much here to completely occupy your entire day yet. But here within the next year or two, there's gonna be full-blown places, coffee shops, and boutique stores where you can come shop and then later that night go to a concert. So I would say not yet. If you're coming to visit Wedgewood Houston, there's not a lot of daytime activities here yet unless you want to spend the entire day at Fort Negley, which you can. There's no shame in doing that. Learn some good Civil War history. But I would say that's coming within the next year or two. Some of my hesitations for not buying property here in Wedgewood Houston would include crime. They're still trying, it's on that verge of change, and you are still pretty close to government housing. There's still a lot of hesitation and tension there. Another factor to not moving here is the cost of living. For a 2,000 square foot house, you may be paying $600,000-$700,000 for a house here in Wedgewood Houston, which is crazy to think about because the housing market is it's booming so much in the city. That would be the reasons I would be hesitant to live in Wedgewood Houston. All right, so we're coming back up to Apple Music. We'll pull into this parking lot to talk about it for a second. But over here, where Apple Music is going to be built, you have the Soho House coming here to Nashville. Okay, the Soho House is a creative membership hotel. So you have to buy an annual membership, but then you can stay at their hotels. And it's a very popular thing all over the world. And this is the first Soho House coming into Nashville, which is very exciting. So like right here to my right is where the Soho House is going. Supposedly, from what I read, this facility was bought. It's going to be turned into a concert venue here to my left. And then what I read recently, somebody just bought this warehouse too. No idea what was there previously, but I think Wedgewood Houston became this artisan community because of this building we're about to go into right now. This is called Track 1. And Track 1 has a lot of creative art spaces. It has a incredible deli called Clausen's, and they make some of the most amazing sandwiches here in the city of Nashville. They also have incredible pickled eggs, which I love. But Track 1 used to be this factory. I can't remember what was built here, but it used to expand all of this, and it used to be this really big factory. And then they hollowed it out, and now that's this creative space. This is where the art crawl happens. This is where like people come to Wedgewood Houston to visit or even to work. And it's this place right here. This is Track 1. And on the inside of it, it's empty. There's a lot of spaces available for rent. And there's also places that you can go there to do like 2 hours of like photography. There's facilities to accommodate for creators in Track 1. And I think that's what really caused the artisan community to move here. I think they're getting priced out of East Nashville because East Nashville was known as the artisan community 5 to 10 years ago. 20 years ago, East Nashville was not known that. But I think they got priced out of East Nashville, and the creators and the makers came here to Wedgewood Houston. In 10 years, I see Wedgewood Houston being this cultural hub within the city of Nashville. There's going to be a lot of residential communities. I think it's going to be this incredible blend of creativity and diversity. And the reason I say that is because of the soccer stadium. Soccer is the biggest sport in the world. It is the most popular sport in the world. And I think with the creative community and that diversity coming in from the soccer stadium, I think it's going to be this cultural hub in the city of Nashville. Right here, this is Jackalope Brewing Company. This is one of the best breweries in the city of Nashville. The first female-owned brewery in the state of Tennessee. Okay, my favorite beer from Jackalope is the Bear Walker Brown, which is a brown nut maple ale. Incredible. A thing that Wedgewood Houston needs to safeguard themselves against as a neighborhood so that don't fail as a community and they don't fail the locals. They make sure that this is very locally driven, that with these big corporations coming here, Apple and the Soho House and some of these other corporations that just bought concert spaces here, my fear is that these big corporations are going to turn this into something that Wedgewood Houston is not. And I think Apple Music is going to do a great job of really preserving the artistic and the creative hub that Wedgewood Houston is. Apple Music has done a good job already on the front end. They came into this factory that was nearly 120 years old, and they've restored the foundation, they restored the bricks. They even had some of the best brick makers in the world come to Nashville to actually make these, remake these bricks. And so they're doing a great job on the front end to preserve the history of this factory. And that's, I think one thing that Apple Music is doing really, really well. And I hope the other corporations that are moving to Wedgewood Houston with these big concert venues does also. All right, so this is construction over here at the Nashville Fairgrounds. This is some of the construction for the Major League Soccer Stadium. I'm not exactly sure what they're building here, but it looks like it's going to be very extensive. I'm really hoping that these empty canopies are going to be for a farmer's market over here in Wedgewood, Houston. That's something that I believe that should happen, is a really good farmer's market here in Wedgewood, Houston. And then you're going to have this development of these shipping containers, and that's going to be a really interesting residential community. That's happening a lot here near Wedgewood, Houston. There's already been 2 facilities that have been completely built out of shipping containers, and they're being completely refurbished or redone up in Pittsburgh, and then they're shipping them down here to Nashville, and then they're just attaching the apartments. Man, this soccer team was a big controversy here in the city of Nashville. All right, so the soccer team, they're called the Nashville Soccer Club. And so you have Major League Soccer, MLS, which is the largest organization in North America for professional soccer. They were looking at expanding into numerous cities. I think they were expanding into 3 cities to build 3 brand new teams. And there was about 25 cities in this bid to win one of the soccer teams. Nashville put a bid in to win a soccer team. We won it. Blew everyone away because we had no idea we were going to win this thing. And they saw, the Major League Soccer saw the development of what can happen with soccer here in the city of Nashville with some of these professional games that happened at Nissan Stadium, Manchester United. And so they saw the potential that Nashville can bring for the soccer community. In 2015, Time magazine said we're the new Ellis Island. Nashville is a super diverse town. There's 153 ethnicities in our city, and there's almost 96 spoken languages in our city. And so it's a super diverse city. You're not going to see that in downtown Nashville. You'll see that more in Wedgewood, Houston. You see that in other neighborhoods. But Major League Soccer is let's look at that. Wow, that's incredible. Let's build a soccer team here. And so then we got a soccer team, and then the owner of the soccer team, they partnered with the city to build a stadium. It was a big controversy here in the city of Nashville for a while. Locals in Wedgewood, Houston, locals in Woodbine, and other surrounding neighborhoods, Berry Hill, were worried about the traffic and the amount of people coming into Wedgewood, Houston. But I think this soccer team is going to be incredible. It's away from downtown, which is different from all of our other professional sports here in the city of Nashville. And I think it's just going to be great for this community, especially if you go south of Wedgewood Houston, about 2 to 3 miles. Then you're in the Hispanic district. I think it's just going to be an incredible blend, as I said, of diversity and creativity. We're heading to one of the most family-friendly activities and event spaces here in the city of Nashville. This is called the Adventure Science Center. They have an amazing exhibits for science. Yeah, they also have one of the only observatories here in the city of Nashville. And they have a lot of actual adult-friendly events. So like where they serve alcohol and you learn about science, or like some of the cool events that they do is they take movies. So this is the Adventure Science Center right next to Fort Negley. And this is one of the biggest family-friendly activities in Wedgewood Houston. I'll say it's probably the only family-friendly activity in Wedgewood Houston, besides hiking at Fort Negley. But you can tell it's packed. It's a Tuesday right now and it's packed. It looks awesome. But they do a lot of events where they cover like science of movies. And one of the coolest events that I've seen that they hosted is they talked about the science of like Harry Potter. And then it was a Harry Potter like themed event with Harry Potter drinks. So they do a lot of really cool things at Adventure Science Center. And then right here is Fort Negley, right here to my left. Some trees fell down from that storm. They're all over the city of Nashville. That's one thing about Nashville that you have to, if you're moving here, be prepared for very bad storms. Because that can happen. Thank you for joining me on this ride through Wedgewood Houston. In the comments below, make sure to tell me what your favorite thing is about Wedgewood Houston. Thank you for exploring with us.